was asked to expand upon the verse from Mark 1, I think it's 13, where it mentions the wild animals, that Jesus was with the wild animals. And you can look at that a couple of different ways, or maybe even more. But if you think, oh, well, wild animals, I have to be afraid of them. Well, I'll tell you something. I'd rather be around the wild animals than around a lot of so-called tame human beings. Because the tamed human beings can lead you astray, because they're living in the ways of this world, not in the heavenly will of God. And if we're dealing with wild animals, there's a lot of different wild animals. And I can just tell you a story about my wife, Heidi. She takes care of some of the wild animals that are around here, and the feral cats. There's been quite a few of them around, and we've adopted some of them and spayed, or neutered some and let them go because they didn't really want to be in the household. But while she was outside, she was calling kitty, 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 and a possum came over and ate right in front of her, just where the cats were, but the cats and the possum would meet together. But the wild animals can be talked to. They recognize the difference between somebody that is aggressive toward them and somebody who's a peacemaker. They may not respond to you immediately, but over a period of days or weeks, you'll see the difference. They'll see the difference. You're not like the others. And I've had that same experience with feral cats, with other animals. I've talked to deer and they stop moving. I've had one wait for us. They see us coming up the road and they'd wait for us. There's nothing to fear about the wild animals. And Jesus was with the wild animals, maybe is trying to tell us he was in a safe place. He was where God was taking care of the wild animals just the same as we would. Doesn't tell us what wild animals were there. And maybe we wouldn't want to stare down a grizzly bear or a tiger. And maybe Jesus was received a little differently. But there's nothing to fear in anything that God created. What there is to fear are those who have turned against the will of God. And we can be deceived by an animal, but we also can be befriended by an animal. And we can befriend the animals, as well as defending. So it's our attitude that determines the difference. I don't think of wild animals as being wild. I think of them as being part of God's creation. And I just want to be closer to them. And I think that's the way that Jesus felt too. Or at least I believe that's the way. So enjoy all of God's creation, including the wild animals. Amen.